to ever have a live event.
Hey, but how do I like turn it on?
It is on. It's been filming the entire time.
Oh, can you hear this?
No way.
Yeah.
Don't move too much.
The camera's been live, and that GoPro's live too.
You wear this while you're watching?
Just sit it against
But I
the...
was going to take pictures of you.
Okay, just sit it down right there, and just tilt it so it looks it's looking at me. That's right. It has a base.
Alright, I'm going to do these. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah?
Do you think that's on you?
Close enough. Tilt it this way a little bit. Yeah, that's probably close enough. It has the GoPro zooms out. Yeah, I invited you to it. So if you put up if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you should be living. Okay. Okay. The big emphasis for today is to help us understand some of this last certification I got was Eat to Perform, and it is a performance-based system, right? So they're mainly a bunch of CrossFitters, built by CrossFitters, but they were building something that would allow people to understand the value of macros and total calories, but not to find calories just to have weight loss. It was to find calories that would maintain or excel performance. And then how do you manipulate those calories to maintain performance and lose fat? So it's not just like, well, you're sedentary and you want to lose some weight, so you just lose 500 calories every day, which doesn't work for everybody, and it definitely doesn't work for people who are really active. So everyone in here that's in here 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, we have to learn how to use fuel and food as primary for exercise, and then how do we manipulate food to adjust for our body composition, right? Because everyone in here, we're not in here exercising to just burn off the food we eat, because that's a losing battle, right? It's just going to be you and your fight for food for the rest of your life. We're in here because we like to work out, we want to get stronger, we want to get better, we want to improve mobility, we want to have lower resting heart rates and lower blood pressure and a whole list of health reasons, right? And we want to look better as humans. So we want to improve our aesthetics as well. Doing that, we also want to understand that we should have an appreciation for food and that we don't want to be on crazy strict diets, right? We don't really do things in here that are elimination diets, right? We're not like, okay, you can't have gluten, or you can't have ice cream, or you can't drink for the rest of your life, or whatever it is, right? We just learn how do we use our food, right, to best understand how we adjust for our performance. Eat to Perform, their biggest idea, their biggest concept is the wave method, and that the fact that you have to rate a calorie cut. The science says that a calorie cut reduces body weight and hopefully body fat. And the wave method is where you work up to a certain point and work back, work up, work back, work up, work back. This is called periodization, and then we do the same thing in strength training or in bodybuilding, where you have something that looks like this. You excel, and you may plateau, and you excel, plateau, okay? Well, this is a linear progression. Sometimes that works for new people, and sometimes it doesn't work. Well, food is kind of the same thing. But really what happens in most of our lives is we do this. Crap, and we don't know what to do, and we do that. And we're like, oh, I'm going to do something else. And you just do this over and over again, right? And it's just flatline. You never understand what's really working. And even worse is you do this, right? So you start, oh man, I'm gonna do so good, I'm gonna lose all this weight, I'm cutting out this calories, I'm cutting out this food, and you unknowingly have a low calorie, right? You cut out all the bad stuff, you restrict yourself, and you're like, yes, progress! Flatline, it didn't work, drop my calories, and then you're just here forever, because we never have anything to work from. So Eat to Perform's idea is, I'm gonna have to erase a lot of stuff. Eat to Perform's idea is that you do this. You understand what maintenance is. Okay? So we know that we're right here, okay? And we know we've been dieting or we haven't been, and we've been at a weight that hasn't moved, we've been doing stuff that's just not working, our progress is stalled, or we don't know what to do. Well, we have to maintain a baseline activity. Okay? Daily walking, exercise, daily movement, not sitting around all the time, etc., etc., etc. The next thing you have to do is, depending on this baseline, everyone's baseline is different depending on how active they are. So we set this, because we know this is the fun stuff, and then we match our calories, a baseline calorie, right, or a maintenance calorie. So I'm probably going to use Danielle as an example because I know her numbers really well. Really well.
Because I'm constantly bugging
all the time. Okay, so, and we've done pieces, we've kind of done this unknowingly throughout the year anyways. We've known that she needs to be at 2,200 calories for her activity, for her body weight, right? And for her to thrive, right? For her to sleep well, for her hormones to be working well, to skin and hair and all the healthy things of having good calories. Well, she needs to find and build up to her maintenance calories. So if she's been at 15, 18, 1,200, whatever it was before, she has to find 2,200. So the 2,200 is in line with your activity. They run parallel. Now that we know this is baseline, weight has leveled out, activity's leveled out, sleep's leveled out, hunger has kind of leveled out-ish, right? We have a healthy relationship with both things. Well, then we can play around with cuts. Then we think, okay, well, we're going to have a certain specific time, or a phase, where we manipulate calories and maybe manipulate exercise a little bit too, to be in our favor. Well, now she's going to come down a little bit, okay, where she might be in line or a little bit lower than her output. Okay, if she's a little bit lower than, she's losing weight and losing fat. But this doesn't have to be big. So say if this is, say she started off at 1,500 and this is 2,200. This line, 15 to 2,200, took us approximately 3 months to get from this number to this number. Because she stair-stepped. She did 1,500, weight maintained. 1,600, weight maintained. 1,700, weight dropped a little bit. 1,800, we saw a little bit of change in aesthetics. Okay, we saw that we could eat more food, and now basically we've gone from 1,500 to 2,200, and we've seen a little bit of change in body fat, about 0.5%. But she did it while increasing calories. So we increased calories, maintained performance, and she has a little more freedom with food because she can have 2,200 calories a day. But this weight, 141. This weight, 141. 148. It kind of goes up and down a little bit right there. Say it was 138, but she didn't gain a whole lot of weight. And this you could gain. She could have been 143, 145. But during that gain, body fat percentage stayed the same or less. So she stayed at 23%. This is super optimal because now we have raised our metabolic motor. When you downregulate or when you take calories out, your metabolism, let's say it's a motor, it's running at 3,000 RPMs. And it always runs that way. Okay, when you choke it back, it runs at 2,000, 1,000 RPM. Well, if it runs at 1,000 RPM, it's always going to run at 1,000 RPM. We have to give it more throttle and more fuel to ramp it up. And that's what this is doing. She's increasing her metabolic engine and her output while maintaining weight. Now that she has a healthy working metabolism and a maintenance, we can come down a little bit. And Eat to Perform, they like to do about 10%. So it's 2,200, she went to a 10%, she's down to 1,980. So that would be her first phase. She would do 1,980 for 2 weeks, and she would see what changes she had. 3 weeks, maybe. She saw changes, good, feel all right, cool, let's go to 1,880. Let's hang out there for a week or two. Cool, let's go to 1,780. Until we get to her, no matter what, if she was just a human being standing, or laying down actually, right, to maintain weight and maintain health, she cannot be lower than 1,400 calories at 140, right? So we know there's no reason she should ever be under 1,400 calories. So you have this window of 1,400 to 2,200, and that's where we play with maintenance and fat loss. We got to get in between these numbers. And really, you would never want to be 500 calories less than 2,200. So 1,700 would pretty much be the lowest you'd want to get to. Because now you're down-regulating metabolism too much. That's the idea. That's what we're going to spend the next month getting up to maintenance calories. Everyone's calories are different. So that in March, when we do our fat loss program, we can start doing the stair step and seeing what's happening. But we can't do that if we don't know maintenance. If you do this and you don't know what this is, you will jack yourself up even more. You can down-regulate your metabolism even more. And then it will take even longer to rebuild. Okay? If you were at 1,500 or 1,600 and you're like, oh, I'm taking 10% off, and now you're at 1,300 and you try to do all this work in the Performance Fat Loss program and it stalls, it's going to take you 6 months to build back up to maintenance calories. Because you can't add the calories in fast because your body will react. If you're like, well, I'm at 1,600 and I know I should have 2,200. If you eat 2,200, you're going to gain fat, you're going to blow up. But if you eat 1,700, your body understands it. Then you eat 18, then 19, 20, 21, 22, right? So that's the idea behind what the fat loss program is going to be. Now, we did the fat loss program last year, and I didn't really know this stuff as much. I didn't know the maintenance stuff as well then. But what we did last year is we did a 500 calorie deficit, but we only did it every other day because I knew that wouldn't be as dramatic and hard on the body. So let's say we knew that 2,200 was baseline. On workout days, we did 2,200. On the days we were lifting, 3 days a week. On cardio days, or rest days, or recovery days, they would do 1,700. And they would just go back and forth. Because over 2 weeks, you were deficit by 10,000 calories. 10,000 calories is how much a pound of fat is, supposedly, energy. So if you do it over 2 weeks, in theory, you lose 1 pound of fat. Pure fat, right? And that's what we want. We don't want to just lose random weight. Oh, I'm 132 now. But what does that mean? Because I say this all the time, but no one walks up to you and asks you how much you weigh. Has anyone ever had that happen? I have. Because guys in the gym, if I do something, they're like, how much do you weigh? I'm like, well, is that weirdos? Okay. So this time in the performance, in this program, this is how I'm going to do it. This is the nuts and bolts of it. Okay? And this is how it's going to work. I know, because I've played around with it, and I've played around with clients, carbohydrate cycling works really well. Okay? And carbohydrate cycling just means that we go up and down by about 100 grams a day, because that shift in energy confuses our body. That's not really what's happening, but no one really wants to know like the real science behind it because it's really boring. So we're going to do